first question from Stephanie, who wants to know about buyer personas in the B2B space. Sophia, how do you feel about buyer personas? Because you've done a lot of work with B2B companies, and I didn't introduce you today as I usually do, but this is Sophia. She's the awesome addition to Get Uplift, and she's helping us out with all these workshops. Buyer personas, that is a very good question, Stephanie. Yeah.
I think it really depends. Like, I feel good about them if they're really well researched, but I find that at least like a lot of my clients, they create these really, really detailed personas where, it tells you where they went to school and how old they are and, what gender they are and all these kind of very, very specific things. So I feel like a lot of them kind of come from guesses versus like what the customers are actually thinking and feeling and what they need to see in order to convert. And so you have these very detailed pictures of people, but I find they're not always an accurate representation. So sometimes, like when you're filling in the sheet, you start guessing. It's human nature to try to like fill in the gaps and be like, well, I think they probably like this because somebody I know who's kind of like this likes these things. And so I think they can work as long as you actually use customer interviews and customer surveys to inform those personas, and you don't get too attached to them. What do you think?
Yeah, we're getting some chat saying that we can't hear you too well, so maybe you might actually have to pick up the phone.
Yeah, I have it. My Zoom has been working awesomely, and by that I mean it's been breaking completely all the time. Is this better?
While Sophia tries to fix that, because unfortunately that didn't fix it, we can still hear you weirdly. Here's my take on personas. So I do love the fact that B2B companies and companies in general are looking at profiling customers and building those personas because it's a step in the right direction. My problem with personas, similar to what you just said, Sophia, is that a lot of it is, it's kind of divided into two. You're either going to get the technical persona, which is this device, this geographical location, this is how old they are, this is how much they're making. So it's a lot of behavioral data. And on the other side, it really is a lot of guessing. It's storytelling that we're kind of telling ourselves, or we know one customer or one client, so we kind of paint a whole thing around them, but it's not really based on real research. So it's a good direction, but I normally don't suggest building personas. What I do love to do is what we've been talking about this whole month, which is really a lot of customer research. And by doing surveys, by conducting interviews, by message mining, all the things we've been talking about. And guys, if you haven't had the chance, then on our blog, we have the recordings for all of that, including the transcripts and the worksheets. But that really helps optimize those personas or profiles of customers because you start to see patterns. And in the emotional targeting methodology, which is the methodology that I work with to optimize, it's less about targeting people who are 25 to 34 or women who are 52 plus, but more about targeting emotional profiles. And to me, that makes a lot more sense than actually profiling people according to segments of their age or their geographical location. Because I am right now in Israel, Sophia's in Texas, and maybe there's a 10-year-old in London that might be feeling the same kind of emotions that we're feeling or has the same kind of intent or is feeling the same pain. And the fact that we're in different geographical locations or different ages doesn't actually impact doesn't mean that we need different landing pages. So I like to profile people according to like an emotional profile. What emotions are triggering them? What kind of intent do they have? What is the value proposition that they're looking for, rather than profiles? Hopefully that answered the question. I don't know. Let me know, Stephanie, if that makes sense. Okay, Sophia, there's starting to get a lot of questions. So why don't you filter them through for me?
You want me to read them?
Just okay. So I know what to look at.
Okay, so the next one we got was from an anonymous attendee. And that one is saying, so for most of my staff, it's difficult to identify emotions. Have you a way better than mine to make them understand what their emotions really are? Apparently, she says it's a cultural issue because they're Asian.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the question because I'm still having a hard time hearing you, Sophia. Sorry. Most of my staff, for most of my staff, it's difficult to identify emotions. Have you a way better than mine to make them understand what really emotions are? I think I'm going to need a little more clarification. Are you saying that you're having a hard time to sell emotional targeting to your team, or are you having a hard time identifying those emotions? Because those are two different answers. So if you can clarify, that would be great, and then we'll get back to your question soon. And see, we have a question from Niha. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Please let me know if I didn't. Where do you mine messages for primary customer research? So this is a really cool question because we spoke a lot about this last week. So if you didn't have the opportunity yet, definitely go back to last week's session on the blog and you'll see the recording for it. But here's the cool thing about message mining. The most important thing about it is that you are trying to go to places which are neutral, as in they're not on your website and they're probably not on your competitor's website. They're on different communities. So like Facebook groups, or maybe they're in Yelp, or maybe they're on Amazon writing a review, or maybe they are, if you're like an e-commerce site, then you are going to your competitors' websites to see the reviews that people are giving to specific products. So the idea is to go to websites like Quora, or different communities that you have, or even Twitter, and looking for those organic conversations. So people are having conversations about your service, your solution, your product on the web everywhere. People are comparing you to other people, or maybe they're not even comparing you. Maybe you're completely new to the business or to the industry, but people are talking about this. And this is where I would go, obviously depending if you're B2B, if you're B2C, and what you know, what your focus is, but you have different communities and groups. I mean, Facebook groups is the first place you would go to, but also, as I said, Yelp is a great place to go to. We also have, I don't know why the name has completely escaped me, but I don't know, it's gone. I had an idea, but Amazon is also a great place. So you really want to go to those organic places where the organic conversations are being held. Quora, by the way, is a really good one. It's just, Reddit is also a great place. Quora is really good. I'm just getting a little frustrated because a lot of the people that go into Quora are answering to promote themselves. So it's very hard to find those real answers. But that's where I would start. So try and go to those, if it's a B2B company, then websites that review different SaaS products and see what people are saying. That's kind of where I would focus. Okay, just to answer Gomez's question. So if you were late, if you're joining us late, unfortunately, Momoko cannot do the presentation today, even though we have that awesome worksheet, but we will be rescheduling with her and redoing it, and I will let you know as soon as that is available. Sophia, we have a few questions in chat and we have a few questions in Q&A. Do you have,
okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys can hear me better now. If not, you know, shout. Not really. I will speak clearly. Okay. So DJ asks, the best way to track forms. Want to know at what step users drop off. So apparently they tried Hotjar, but it doesn't work with a form over multiple pages. And so you're just wondering what the best way is.
That's a tricky question. It really depends on the technology that you're using and what you're using. Like, is it a full-blown funnel? Are you using a landing page builder like Lead Pages or Unbounce, or if you're doing it on your own website? There's different ways to actually use Google Tag Manager to do it. You're just going to need a developer to actually follow you on that. My analyst recently wrote an article just about that. So I'm going to reach out to her and ask her to send me the link for it. And I'll post it in the show notes when we post this recording. But you're right. When you have a form that is over multiple pages, it's a little hard to kind of track in that type of way. The only way I can currently think about is building a funnel within Google Analytics, and then like an e-commerce funnel, and then tracking that in terms of drop-offs. Plus, another way is that every time they move to the next step, they submit a part of information. So you can go to your back end and look at, what is the least field, what's the field that's getting the least replies. It's not a really go-to solution, but it's just a workaround. But it really does depend on your technology. I'm sure there's some really cool tools out there, but you need to kind of know if you're using WordPress or what you're kind of using. There's different plugins and stuff that you could use. Okay.
Okay, so our next question is from Netta, and she says, how does stage of awareness change the emotional profile idea? Would the two of you and the 10-year-old also have the same stage of awareness, or would the emotional focus override differences between pain aware and solution aware?
That is such a fantastic question. Okay, so stages of awareness, to anyone who hasn't heard of them before, is a way of segmenting people into the different stages that they are in the customer journey. So some people are unaware. For example, they have no idea that they even have a pain or that they are experiencing any issue. And it's our goal to kind of nudge that pain and make sure. Did your cat just jump behind you? That was so cool. Everyone else saw that, right? So you've got unaware and you've got pain aware, which are people who are aware that they have a problem or a pain that they need solving, but they don't really know that it can be solved. You have solution aware people who are actively starting to kind of research and find out what solutions are out there. Product aware people who are comparing different products. And lastly, most aware, which are people who are ready to convert. So to answer your question, Netta, it works together. So if myself and the 10-year-old are in different stages of awareness, so I'm product aware and he's solution aware, the value proposition is still the same. So I am still buying from a certain intent, and so is she, the 10-year-old. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change your profiles. It means you have to change your value proposition on the page. So obviously if someone is solution aware, you're not going to start talking about the pricing that you have or the different modules that they can choose from, the pricing modules, but you can still talk about what matters to them, their intent. Someone like me who might be most aware or product aware, I still need to get that value proposition that is the same for me and that 10-year-old, but the page would be more CTA, more direct into leading you into that conversion. What do you think, Sophia? Do you agree, or do you have a different take on that?
No, I think it is that. I think the emotional pain really overrides the things like age and the other things, because if you're feeling the same pain and you're feeling that same pain from the same place, and that's what you speak to. I mean, that's what you buy from in the first place, not the arbitrary factors. So yeah.
Okay, cool. I see we have a question from Steve. Can you talk about images on web landing pages? How should we evaluate them to increase conversions? Okay. This is actually one of my favorite topics. I don't know if Steve, if you mean B2B or B2C, but here's my take. The big thing about images that everyone needs to know is that the hero images sole purpose in its life is to support the copy and the message on the page. So it's not there to just entertain. It's not there to look good. It's not there to promote the product. It's there to connect people with the message. Now, if you've done the work and you have a value proposition up there on your page, the hero image should support that message. So why am I saying this? Because mostly when you look at landing pages and websites, specifically for B2B, but also for B2C, most companies have an image of their product or their solution up front. That's the focus of it. They have a very hard time choosing different images, and we might have sliding images and carousels, but it's always going to be photos and images of the product itself or someone using the product. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help with promoting your message. So when I look at a landing page, or when I'm evaluating it and auditing it, I'm really looking at the connection between the image and the messaging. Because if you're trying to say, and Skype is the first example that I have in mind, just because they've recently done a redesign. But just a few weeks ago, the main message, and we talked about this last week, was join millions of people already using Skype. So their entire messaging is about the whole world is using us. Everyone's using Skype. Join the community. But their image was a screenshot of what Skype looks like, and that to me is a message mismatch, because what you want to do is have an image that supports that message. So maybe a map of the world, maybe showing people from all over the world connecting with each other. So when you're thinking about increasing conversions for your images, I would run some tests on strategic images versus product-centered images. So if you currently have a very product-centered or solution-centered image on your page, you would want to test that versus a strategic image, which is more the trying to portray that emotion, that strategy, and that messaging of yours. I have an entire session on that actually. We'll probably do it. We're going to do it later on in the year, because we're going to be talking very extensively about images and colors. But hopefully that gave you a sneak peek into how I look at images, and I think it really is important. I'm not saying you don't have to use images of your products on the website. It is important, but that's not the first thing. I'll say this, bottom line is, when people land on your landing page or your homepage, you have about 3 seconds to convince them to stay and start scrolling. So in those 3 seconds, you have to use your image very wisely, not to show them, hey, look, the product looks really cool, but hey, this is the value. This is, the essence of what you would be getting. And that's why you see a lot of these websites with couples and people partying and all sorts of stuff. So I'm not saying you have to go all the way to stock photo direction, but do have that in mind, that first people see the value, you convince them to stay on the page. Oh, this sounds interesting. It connects with your copy, and then people start scrolling. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so there's loads of more questions. Sophia, do you want to guide me through some of them? Yeah.
Okay, so we have the next one is from Gabriel, and he says, I'm about to launch a new version of our product and website, a mobile app that helps direct salespeople sell more and control their micro businesses. They have around 6,000 users, but very few subscribers around the world in 3 languages, and they got this organically. So the question is, how do I touch their hearts and create engagement and retention?
I don't know enough about the product to really give you an answer to that, but so you have a mobile app that's helping salespeople really sell more, basically. But so here's what I'm gonna advise you to do. I'm gonna ask you to look deeper than their KPI. So a salesperson that sits in an office, their KPI might be to make 5 sales a month, 10, 100, whatever. But go deeper and start thinking about why they care about the sales, why they're trying to make them. I've done a lot of research around, and I've worked with many companies that sell to salespeople. And many times there is a very, there's an underlying emotion in there of either trying to prove something to themselves, that they can be the best, that they can do better than others, that they're good salespeople, that they can reach targets and even surpass them. Sometimes it's an external motivation, social image, which is, what are other people going to think? I want other people to admire me for my skills. I want my managers to admire me. What is it that they're looking for? Are they salespeople because they want to feel good about themselves? Are they salespeople because they're trying to live a certain type of life? Go deeper than oh, we just need to help them. Because many times these kind of apps, what you'll see, or websites, is like, make more money in less time, or reach your goals really quickly. It's everyone saying that, right? Everyone. So go deeper into that intent, into why they want to make those sales, why they care, what struggles do they have in the day-to-day as salespeople. And I'm not talking about, oh, getting leads or closing the deal. It's those struggles that they have internally. Do they maybe feel insecure? Do they have a good team around them? Who are these people? And then start building those different messages around that and start testing them. That would be my kind of go-to. Okay.
Yes, I would agree. I think understand their stresses, because salespeople tend to be so stressed and nobody really shows that much empathy towards them. And they have to work really hard. Their hours are crazy. They go through, it's a really tough field to be in. So finding that, you got them.
Yeah, when I think about myself, by the way, because I was a salesperson years and years ago. And it was always interesting because my managers would always say, well, if you hit this target, you'll get X amount of bonus and you'll make more money. And that never, ever motivated me. It was other things. It was just other things that I had in my life that I was motivated by. And specifically, we were selling something that was really good and I felt proud of. So it made me feel like I was helping people. And that was kind of the achievement. So yeah, as you say, I guess it really is important to just kind of understand the intent behind it and why people are actually making those sales. Okay.
Cool. We have an awesome question from Nicole.
Yeah.
So she says, I'd like to know how to target people and find their emotions if the brand doesn't have a website. They're doing all their targeting from social media.
Oh, well, okay, that's two different things. There's finding those emotions and there's showing those emotions. So finding those emotions, and so basically they only have ads, which means I guess they have a landing page on Facebook that's collecting leads and people are calling them back. I'm gonna take a wild guess there. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole. But here's what I would do. There's a thing called social listening, which is amazing. We actually have an article about this on our blog. I'll search for it and I'll throw the link into the chat. But what's really cool about it is that there are so many reports and so many things that are happening in social media that you can use to listen and understand. So we spoke about message mining before, going in Facebook groups, going on Twitter, going into Pinterest, going into all these places where people are having organic conversations and listening to them, pinpointing people and still having interviews with them. Plus, I would reach out to all your past clients, people who have already converted, and survey them in order to get a better idea of those emotions. So that's the research part, and competitor research, of course. The second part is how to show those emotions. And in social media, that's actually, it's just another place to use. So everything that you do with your ads in terms of messaging, images, and colors. And of course, the landing page, the messaging that you have on that landing page is what you're going to use. So I recently did an article interview for Social Media Examiner. We'll also look for that link somewhere and post that in there, because I give a really, really big drill down into how I use emotion in social media. And I think it will give you all the information that you need, hopefully. And I see Sophia is running around and getting all those links. Thank you so much. Okay. Neha says, thank you. I missed last week's session due to time zones. So yeah, guys, just a reminder, 48 hours or 24 hours after we have any one of these sessions, everything is live on our website. You go to our blog and there's a recording, worksheets, templates, everything's in there, including a transcript. Clint says, Hotjar has a good form and funnel tracker. I agree, depending on if it's on one page or a few. But I do use Hotjar a lot, and they're my go-to with everything. Let me see. Camille, building off that question, I'm not sure what question because we've moved past a few. What value proposition should you give for someone who is landing on your homepage based on stage of awareness? Okay, the thing about homepages and websites, and I think Sophia would definitely be able to contribute to this answer to this question too, is that with the homepage, there are so many people coming in at so many different stages. The different stages of awareness, because maybe they remember you and now they're going back and they don't know what exact page they're looking for, so they go to your homepage. It could be someone who's ready to convert. It could be someone who randomly arrived on your homepage. So one thing to know is you can't do it all on the homepage. You can't speak to everyone, but you can talk about that big value proposition that you have on the homepage and make sure that you're directing people to the right pages. So if someone's solution aware, they'll go to the blog, or if someone is product aware, they'll go to the product page or the pricing page and stuff like that. So your homepage is more that hub where you make sure people understand your value proposition, the biggest things, you know, the value that you have to offer, and you're directing people to the right direction in the funnel, whether if it's to convert right now or to find out more, or to learn more. That's how I treat the homepage. What about you, Sophia?
Yeah, homepages are a nightmare. That's why, I kind of treat it as a big navigation page. So really, as Talia said, just have as clear as possible navigation, with your hero section being your biggest value proposition, and then just help them get to where they need to go.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sophia just posted the link to the social listening post plus the one in Social Media Examiner. So hopefully that will definitely help you with social media stuff. Hunter, when you're looking to improve the conversation rate of a specific page, what data analytics would you look at to form a hypothesis on how to increase conversions? Assuming it's related to offer stage, top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel. Do you have examples of each? Where on the conversion path do you start? Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're trying to increase engagement, basically, on the site, on a specific page. I'm not sure what engagement looks like, because engagement can be commenting and signing up and stuff like that, or it could, and responding to people, and it could also be staying longer on the site, viewing more pages, clicking on different things, opening different tabs. So it really depends. When you're looking to improve, I have to reread this again. Wait, hold on. Sophia, maybe you have a take on this. Let's see. What data or analysis would you look at to form a hypothesis? Okay. Well, Google Analytics is the first place I would look at. We're actually working on a client right now that has massive traffic to their website, and our sole purpose is to keep people on the website and to actually engage them. So it's less about getting them to register, but more about getting them to go more down the rabbit hole and kind of read more articles, respond to people, comment, and perform more actions on the website itself. We're using Google Analytics to see what are the most prominent pages, the most engaging pages, and seeing the ones where we have the biggest drop off and trying to start moving people from there to there. I still think it's a lot to do with the messaging. So when you kind of figure out what people are looking for and the intent and how you want to speak to them, then you start at the upper funnel with kind of getting them into the page, getting them to engage more, asking them to perform more actions. What do you think, Sophia?
Yes, I think there as well. I would also look at the bounce rates and kind of try to understand why they're leaving the page. And for that, you can just put a survey on and basically like an exit intent survey and ask them why they're leaving. And also what they're clicking on and what pages they're going on next. Because again, that kind of gives you an idea of what they need to see on that page and what they're looking for so they convert.
Okay, cool. I mean, hopefully, Hunter, that answered your question. I'm not sure if we completely understood it. So if we didn't, please make sure that you reiterate that so we can give you the answer you need. We have Camille. Can you give some advice on getting buy-in from C-suite level execs in my company to go deeper on value proposition and cater to our clients' needs rather than saying we do this? What do you think, Sophia? Do you have some advice on that?
I think try to get a small win first. Basically, run a small test to show them why this matters. Why it would increase their conversions. And when you show them that they're going to make more money, then you tend to get more buying, because everyone wants to make more money. And that's what they're there for.
Agreed. I have a whole session on this in our course in Emotion Cells. And the whole premise of it is getting into your manager's mind. So when you think about it, you're essentially doing emotional targeting research on your boss. Okay, so what you want to do is figure out their intent, what they care about, what matters to them most, and start presenting your case in that way. So the go-to thing is to create a presentation where you explain, hey, this is where we are now. You know, these are our results. These are the numbers. This is what we're seeing. And then, you know, this is how we conduct things today. We have an hypothesis and we would like to do X, Y, and Z. This is how it can benefit the company. Now, one thing that always works is showing them how competitors are doing stuff like that, because they get an itch for it. Why is the competitor doing something that we aren't? And yes, presenting it in a way that shows their ROI is really important. I like the idea, Sophia, of getting that small win, because when you do something small that you can just prove the concept of it and show, hey, you know, we did a small poll or we did a small survey and, you know, we found that this, and we used this headline and it increased conversions, or it did something. That's totally the way to go, you know, that to sell it. One thing to remember that is also important is to include investment. Like, how much will you need to invest into this whole thing in order to get there, you know, to get there. So if you're saying, hey, I want to do conversion optimization research, I want to do value proposition research, here's what we'll need to do. You know, I'll need X amount of people, I'll need this amount of time, I'll need this amount of budget, it's going to take me X amount of time, and these are the results that I'm expecting. So the more granular you get and the more you explain it, the better. Plus maybe also getting them to watch different workshops, sending them different articles about these things and showing them how very big brands in the world are doing some of this stuff would help. So Yeah, that would be my go-to. But again, it's kind of, there's a lot of things that are in there, but a lot of it is about just getting into your manager's head and understanding their emotions. Okay, so I think we have.
There's just one in the Q&A.
Oh, right.
Our anonymous attendee actually explained what they meant. But I'll grab that link if you want to read that question.
Yes. Okay, so you're having trouble identifying emotions. Okay, so great. So you're saying that your team is in on identifying those emotions. The hard part is knowing how to do it. I know, that's why I have a course, but also that's why it's taken me 10 years to perfect it. There's no easy way to identify these emotions, but I think that what's really important is to base it on hard data and facts. Don't base it on, I think that, or one customer said this, or we saw one review, but you will feel so much more confident if you have that research. So we've said this quite a few times today. Customer surveys, visitor surveys, polls on the website, customer interviews, competitor research, message mining, all the good stuff we've been talking about this month, and again, it's all on our blog, will help you identify those emotions. It's very hard to just obscurely make up emotions. That's not what you're supposed to do. It's based on research. And there's so many steps to it. But when you start doing the things we're talking about right now, you will start to see patterns. You will start to see those things that people are continuously saying, people are repeating, people are worried about, that they're challenged by, that they're annoyed by, that they hope to find. All these things will keep repeating themselves, and it will be so much easier for you to identify those emotions. And again, you're not coming up to and saying, hey, these are the emotions, done. It's testing. It's constantly saying, my hypothesis is that if we talk more about their self-image, or if we talk more about how their end result would be ending up with a huge community and loving people around them, it would increase conversions. So you start with the research and you work your way in and you start testing. So nothing's going to be perfect, and it's not going to be a quick win, because it isn't. And that's one of the first thing I tell my students. It takes time to perfect, but if you're willing to do the work and you're willing to do the research, it's so much easier to do. So yeah, start with the research. Don't try and guess, and take it from that. That would be my suggestion. Montreal says, do you have a preference for the type of emotions you want people to feel? For example, I know fear of loss is a big deal in sales. Okay. So what you're actually talking about is really cool, Montreal, because next month, February, is all about psychology. And we're going to be talking a lot about cognitive biases. And exactly one of those biases is that fear of loss. It's called loss aversion. It's the fact of, it's basically the idea that we experience a lot more pain when we lose something than happiness when we gain something. So we will do everything in our power to avoid losing out on something. That's why urgency and scarcity work so well. I don't have a preference to emotions, because it really depends on the customer research that I'm doing. And I could start out a project and say, hey, I think that people are motivated by this emotion or by urgency. And then as I do my research, I'll realize that this is not the type of people that I want to lure in with urgency, because they might convert, but then they'll all charge back, or they will, they won't understand the whole idea. So it's not really a matter of what I prefer. I do see various emotional triggers repeat themselves over and over again in almost every project that I work on. But realistically, it's not what you want to use. It's more about identifying what people care about the most, what their intents are, what their best version of themselves looks like, and using that on the page. And you can always use different triggers and emotions and fear and scarcity and urgency, but you have to use it in the right context. So yeah, I mean, it does work really well, especially in e-commerce sites, for example, but it doesn't work for everyone. So my advice would be to do the research, which I've said so many times today, sorry, and also start testing these kind of small things. And yeah, I mean, next month we're going to be talking all about psychology. In fact, next week I'm going to be talking about how our brain makes decisions. So how we decide to buy stuff, and that's going to be really cool. It's actually not going to be live, by the way. It's going to be pre-recorded because I am traveling. So you will get a link to your inbox with the recording so that you can watch it whenever you're ready, with a worksheet prepared for you and everything. So that's going to be really cool. And if you have any questions about how our brain makes decisions and stuff like that, you can throw it into the comment section, and I will also address those for you guys. So I think I've answered all the questions for today. And yeah. And I think we can start wrapping up. Hey, Dave, I'm so excited when I see students of mine in the workshops. So excited to see you. Guys, if you have any questions, reach out to us. You will have the recording of this session, surprise Q&A session, in the blog in about 24 hours. And I will let you know when the value proposition session is on, because it is so good. We have to do it very soon. And as I said, next week won't be live, so you don't have to attend, but I will send you a link to your inbox with everything. So until then, have a great evening or day or night, wherever you are, and stay awesome. Bye.